Tonight, we're going to be trying some dice triggers. I have a lot of interesting dice that I've collected. I'm going to show you each one of them. We're going to roll them, and then we're going to count them up. So I keep my dice in this Crown Royal bag, because they're a decent dice bag, honestly. A lot of people have all kinds of different dice bags that they like. All kinds of fancy looks, but I'm just gonna go for the basic one, which is whatever I could find. I'm gonna be rolling our dice in this, so they're not too noisy. First, we've got this green D10. So if you don't know, dice are usually referred to as D and then whatever number of sides they have. So since this is a 10-sided dice, 10-sided die, it's a D10. Alright, that's a 9. So now we have a D4, the caltrops of the gaming world, because don't step on one. So that's a 2, you can tell, because this one uses the number at the bottom. And this one is a D8. It has 8 sides. Looks like a 6. And here we have the humble D12, the most unused of the standard dice. That's a 2. And another D4. That's a 2. We got a 10 from that D12. Another D10 for a 3. And we have a 9 on this D10. And now here we go, the D20, 20-sided die, popularized by tabletop role-playing games like D&D. What's important about the D20? No, that's a 6. What's important about the D20 is mainly that it's big enough to make people feel like it's still, chunky. Even small bonuses, a +1 is a good bump in probability, but it's still swingy enough that there's some random chance involved when you roll it. For those of you math nerds at home, each side on a roll 20, on a 20-sided die, a D20 is about 5%. So we had a 5% chance there to roll that 14 that we just did. Another D10 gets us a 6. Let's see, what kind of oh, we have not had a D6 yet, so there's the normal kind of die you're probably used to, a D6, although this one has numbers instead of dots. So that, I believe, had a 5. Another D8 for a 1. D8s are some of my favorite, personally. Alright. believe that was a 1. Of course, another d12. Ooh, and it rolled a 12. So in some games, they have what's called exploding dice, where if you roll the maximum number on a die, it explodes, where you will roll that die again and add the number rolled to whatever you rolled. I think Savage Worlds does that, but I've never actually gotten the chance to play Savage Worlds. We're going to call that a 4. And here's a 6. So this d20 is a little more interesting than my others, although not by much. I have some better dice in here somewhere. We'll get to them eventually. And I think we're going to start just drawing a couple at a time. So that was a d8 and a d6 for 6 and 4. So a d4 and a d10. So this d4 has the number at the top, so that's a 3. This d10, ooh, this one we need to talk about. So I rolled this 40 here because this d10 is a percentile d10. So what you can do is if you roll 2d10, you can choose 1 as the tens place and 1 as the ones place and get percentile numbers. So this one will always be the 10 place because it's, it's written like that. Of course, you could use it normally, but whatever. It is also really hard to read, but it looks cool, so whatever. So they're putting it on that 40. So that was another percentile. There was a d12. Let's roll those again. All right, so we got a 20 and an 11. 2011. We're gonna roll 3 now. So there was a 6 on that d12. And I believe we got a 3 on that d8. And lastly, a 3 on this d6. Let's look at a different die. So I have these tiny 6-sided dice. I think there's another one in here somewhere. I got these in England, actually, when I went to a marble factory. Now, what is a tiny die doing at a marble factory? I don't know. Maybe if I knew how to actually play marbles, I might have an answer for you. But most of these dice have a story of some kind. So there's a 4 on that d10. A lot of the story is just, I bought a pound of dice. There's a 5 on that. But, still a story. It was my first pound of dice ever. All right. So, it's a 3 there. And we have an 8 on this. And you didn't really roll very well. Let's do a 1 there. Okay. interesting. So this D12, it came in the original pound of dice, and it just sort of looks nice. It's special to me because I used to play a game called Villains and Vigilantes with my family, where I was a superhero who threw fireballs called Wildfire. And the fireball power used a D12. So that D12 is special to me because that's the one I used. Here's a weird one. I don't know how this came into my possession. I think someone gave it to me. It is a base 2 D6. So let's look at these sides. That's a 2. And then that's a 4. Followed, of course, by a 16, which goes, I forgot the 8. 2, 4, 8, 16, 32. And of course, finally, it has somewhere a 64. 16 on that. Found the other die from the London Marble Company. I think it's a famous place, but I have completely forgotten the name of it. Then we have this sparkly pink monstrosity. It's sparkly. And the sparkly boy here rolled a 9. Let's just roll a bunch of dice now. We got a 7. Gonna call that a 0. So on a 10-sided die, a 0 means 10, usually. It gets a little weird with the percentiles. So, rolled an 8, 4, 4, 2, and this is decided to become an 11, so we'll honor its identity. This is another one of my favorite D10s. So, 2, 4, 3, 3, 5, 10. And we're gonna go ahead now. Just grab a big handful. Oops. So, I'm gonna call that 4, 2, 2, 2, 15, 5, 3, it's 2, 16, 7, and 7. So now So that's a 3. We're going to call that a 3. We're just going to call these what we feel like they are, you know. 2, 20, 7, 5, 14. Paperclip, and also paperclip, and that seems to be a poker chip or two, huh? Those are dice. Maybe my bag is full of trash. So, 4 and 1 and 5, 6, 6, 2, 5. Utter garbage. Oh, let's talk about this one for a minute. So this D4 is 9 possible to read, and it's awful, and I'm pretty sure I accidentally stole it from someone. But it's mine now, so that's a 1 for us. 50, 6, 3, 10, 6, 2, 3, poker chip, 3, 60, and that's all of them. So, now that we've rolled everything and gotten rid of yet more trash, we're going to count up each of these dice. We're going to see just how much we rolled. So, 2, 9, 8, 19, 29, 35, 75, 86, 90, 92, 94, 96, 99, 115, 135, 136, 142, 146, 149, 152, 156, 162, 166, 173, 185, 100, no, 203, 205, 219, 237, 238, 239, 246, 250, 256, 259, 265, 270, 272, 282, 285, 289, 293, 303, 306, 315, 317, 322, 324, 330, 348, 349, 351, 354, 357, 366, 377, 383, 386, 393, 409, 412, 413, 418, 425, 440, 442, 447, 450, 456, 476, 481, 483, 486, 492, 552, 555, 557, 560, 566, 571, 573, 578, 588, 638, 644, 651, 652, 656, 670, 673. That's a lot of damage.